Hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Sagemtech 2021 Release 4 preview. As Casey said, my name is Mark Adams, and I will be your host for today's presentation. For today's agenda, we will cover learning opportunities for Intact. We will briefly review the Sage Intacct preview schedule for 2022. Then we will cover the highlights in Release 4. Following that, we will present some tips and tricks and close with a question and answer session. Learning opportunities for Sage Intacct have never been easier. Included with your software subscription is access to the Sage Intacct Learning Center. In the Learning Center, you will find training videos, helpful how-to documents, and a chance to collaborate with other Sage Intacct users. We strongly urge you to register for and actively use the Sage Intacct Learning Center. As a courtesy to our customers, OneVision holds a sneak peek webinar each quarter for the purpose of providing an overview of the new features. Finally, you can contact us with any questions or issues by emailing support@onevisionllc.com. Sage Intacct releases updates to its product 4 times per year, once per quarter. The release dates for 2002 will be February 18th for Release 1, May 13th for Release 2, August 19th for Release 3, and November 11th for Release 4. OneVision holds a quarterly webinar for each release. The highlights for Release 4 are divided into 3 main categories. The best-in-class financials include accounts receivable and accounts payable usability and visibility enhancements. For early adopters, electronic payments, multi-entity setup, and more international tax improvements. Deep cross-industry functionality includes nonprofit restriction release improvements, inventory quantity available calculation and visibility, and construction change management enhancements for early adopters. For best-in-class cloud platform, it is financial report writer usability, new list user experience for beta customers, and expanded on-demand training courses. There have been several enhancements made to accounts payable and accounts receivable with regard to usability and visibility in Release 4. List improvements have been made to the new AR Advances screen, as well as for the AP Approved Payment screen, making it easier to filter, view, and take action. Posting details can now be reviewed in the new AR Advances screen and on the AP Bills, AP Adjustments, and AP Payment screens, eliminating the need to run reports for posting information. Finally, attachments have been enabled on the AR Advanced screen, and you can now manage attachments from the AP Bill List screen. For early adopters, the setup of electronic payments for multiple entities has been enhanced. First, the federal tax ID and legal contact information are entered for each entity. Next, when bank accounts are set up, the entity or location is defined and payment services through CSI are enabled. CSI then automatically validates and enrolls the entities to process payments for the enabled bank accounts. Additional international tax enhancements have been added in Release 4. Canadian tax submission has been improved, and there are improvements made to the UK reverse charges support. Accrual cash dual book support and VAT has been enabled. Finally, the tax solution maintenance process has been improved. For nonprofit customers, improvements have been made to the restriction release process in Release 4. There is now a generate restriction release process which will search for qualified expenses in order to release equivalent revenue. The process can be filtered by funding source or by location. The release log can be viewed to review the journal entries that were generated from the process. Enhancements for inventory quantity available calculations and visibility have been added in Release 4. The quantity available calculation now includes options to include quantities on purchase orders, as well as to include quantities in transit on warehouse transfers. Increased visibility into available quantities has been added to order entry, where available quantities can be reviewed at the item or item warehouse levels. For construction customers, increased flexibility to manage change requests and change orders has been added in Release 4. A change request document template and an email template have been added to the change request form for more effective delivery, either by print or by email. Flexibility for deleting posted change orders has also been added in this release. Two requests from the Intact community have been incorporated to enhance financial report writer usability. An option has been added to automatically trigger scheduled financial reports upon the GL close. Also, to simplify understanding the purpose behind a computation that is used in a column, computation names and descriptions have been added in this release. For selected beta customers, Release 4 includes list enhancements designed to increase flexibility, usability, and efficiency. Enhancements include drag and drop capabilities to freeze, reorder, or resize columns. Advanced filtering and sorting capabilities have been added, as well as list and detail screen integrated views. Also, the ability to save views with either simple or advanced filtering as custom views has been added. In Release 4, Sagemtech has expanded its on-demand training course offerings. The Getting Started courses are free to all Intact users, while the Financial Applications and the Insights and Reporting courses require a Learning membership subscription. More courses will be added going forward. This concludes the highlights portion of our presentation. As you can see, there are many other enhancements and new features included with Release 4. To learn more about the new features and enhancements in the Sage Intacct 2021 Release 4, visit the Release Notes link from the home page of your Sage Intacct application. For our tips and tricks portion of the webinar today, we will demonstrate creating and applying inline credits in accounts payable. We will cover how to configure credit card transactions to flow to project invoices. And finally, we will review the new budget menu that has been introduced in Release 4. Please take note that as of this release, Internet Explorer IE 11 will no longer be a supported browser for the Sage Intacct application. Now, let's go into the demo environment and do some demonstrating. All right, the first thing I'm going to show you is how to create and apply an inline credit. Now, an inline credit is when you have a negative line item on an AP bill. So there is now an option to where we can either have it automatically applied to the bill, or we can have it where it would act as a separate credit. This setting is in the configuration module here. To enable inline credits to be automatically applied to bills. When this is checked on, it does exactly what it says. The inline credit will be automatically applied to the bill. Let's see how that works. Let's put in a bill. Let's go to the entity. All right, so let's put in a bill. And we can have today's date. And let's just pick Staples as our vendor. Today's posting date is fine. Let's number 2. Now, when we get down here, you'll notice that for this vendor, we already have a default expense account. We're just going to go ahead and use that. So let's say we bought office supply from Staples. This is our first time with Staples. So we bought $1,000 worth of office supplies. We're not going to worry about anything being billable. But let's also say that since we're a new customer, they're going to give us a $200 discount. So we would put in minus 200. So you'll notice that the total amount of the bill is $800. The $1,000 line item minus the $200 that we're going to use as our credit. If we submit it, all right, now you'll notice in the list that it shows us the 800. Let's go to pay that. So if we go to pay bills and we want Staples and everything else, we're just going to, you'll notice that it's $800. And if we go into the line details, there's no credits to apply. You'll notice there's no credits. So it's already taken that $200 into account in the bill. So so you can see exactly it's $800. So if we were to pay this, we would pay the entire $800. Okay. Let's just back out of here. We're not really going to do anything with that. Now, let's go back into the setup and let's change the configuration to where it doesn't automatically apply. So we have to do it from the top level. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to disable that. So what we should be able to do now is put in an inline credit, and it should be available for any bill that this vendor might generate. So let's go back, let's put in a bill. This time we're going to use a different vendor. We got to be in here. Okay, so let's add a bill. And this time we'll use National Grid as our vendor. We're going to do the same kind of thing. This time we're going to have some utilities. We're going to do the same kind of thing. We owe $1,500 for our utilities for the month. But the electric company is going to give us a discount. Why? We don't really know. So you'll see now it's $12.50 for our bill. If we submit that, now let's go to pay that. National Grid, filter. You'll notice here, when we go to pay it, that the amount due is the full amount, the $1,500, and it shows that we have a $250 credit available that we can either apply, or not apply, or apply it to a different bill for this vendor. So if we go to the line details, you can see that we can apply this $250 credit. We don't have to, or we can pay the whole thing, or we can just take part of this credit. And if we were to do that, part of the credit would be available later for another bill. So that's kind of how the inline credits work. Again, I'm not going to go through this. We know how to pay bills. So that's how the inline credits work. The next thing I want to show you is how to configure a credit card transaction so it will flow to a project invoice. So in this case, we're going to go to projects. There's a configuration option here of what we want to include to be billable, our billable options. Here in the configuration screen, they added general ledger a couple of updates ago. Last update, they added the credit card transactions. So now we can actually put in credit card transactions and have it flow to a project invoice. So let's put that in there and let's see how that works. All right, so if we go here, let's go to Cash Manager and let's put in a credit card transaction. So we can add credit card, is Amex, reference number, we'll just put one in. We can have a payee, so we're just gonna buy some materials by credit card. So down here, show defaults, we would want a project, obviously. Let's do our training and telecom training. Anything else we need? We need an item since we want to bill it. Apply default. So now we're going to build this. We probably want some sort of COGS, other transaction amount. Let's say we're buying $500 worth of stuff. We want them to be billable. Let's make sure our details show what we want it to show. There's a customer, there's our project, Telcom. Okay. Let's save it. Item not valid. Oh, we have to select a non-inventory item. Okay. Let's see, do we have any of them? Let's just duplicate it and make one. All right, so this should work. We've got a non-inventory item. It's called materials. Oh, it exists. All right. There we go. Materials. Should be working. Cannot be tagged as billable. All right. Well, you see, since we're live, what kind of things can happen here. So let me back out of this. Let me put in a item that we can use here. We're going to name it X materials, non-inventory. Okay, that's all we should need. Make sure, since we've run into trouble here. Okay, now we should be able to use that. So let's go back here. Let's add our credit card transaction again. Payee. Show default. Our project again. Our item, we should see our item in here. Yep. Hopefully it'll work this time. I don't think that's any of these. Okay, those aren't required. So let's come in here and put our information in. The 5,000 account, because we hopefully can want to build this. Make sure it's got our materials. All right, here we go. Yeah, there we go. All right, we're back on track. You see what can happen when you do live demos here. Anyway, let's run our generate invoices by project, and that was our. And you'll see we've just run into another problem. We can't see the project. Because it's really not complete. All right. Let's start over. There we are. Save the document. Well, we're not really going to save it anyway. We're just going to look at the preview here. But hopefully what we should see is the credit card transaction that would come up here. So it would be available to bill. And we don't see it. I'm going to pass on this. I'm going to put together a little video so Casey can put it out to you guys who are watching this. We just have some issues here in the demo database, so I apologize for that. But finally, let's look at the new budgets menu. What this does is it replaces, remember in the general ledger, you would go in there and you would enter your budgets. That is now known as a budget repository. They renamed that. If you go into general ledger, you'll notice there is such a thing as the budgets repository here, where you put your budget, your GL budgets in just like you always did. That can be available now from budgets. But there's also some more options you have. You can get to your spend management. If you're using spend management, you can go directly to the configuration page from this new menu. Spend management. You can also get to your, if you're using the Sagemtech budget and planning, you can get to it from here. So you can connect to it, you can learn more, you can look at more marketplace solutions. You can use the import function. Now this import function is for the Sagemtech budgeting and planning, not for your budget repository now. So just be aware of that. You also, in this new budgets menu, you have different reports. You have your budget report, you have the dimension balances report, and they also give you the options for custom reports, financial reports. If you were using ICRW reports, that would be here. So if you had any budget reports, you could actually get to them from here. That's new in release 4. All right. So that is it for our demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and take questions now. Let me see what's come in. All right, first question. Is it possible to merge 2 vendors, including their transactions? Currently, it is not possible to merge vendor records. The workaround would be to make one vendor the parent of the other, and then make the child vendor inactive. That way you could see all their transactions at the parent level. Next question. All right, we have one. For components on a dashboard, is there a way to add notes to the reports, graphs, or the performance cards? You can use either the billboard function, which has a component type of general, or you can use the new attachment feature, which also has a component type of general. You can store notes in there, and then you can put these components next to the component for which the note would apply. Another question, right? Can budget values be allocated to a dimension without using a GL account? Unfortunately, this is not current functionality. A GL account is required to allocate budget values. All right, another one. Here's one. For one of our business users, I gave add, edit, list, and view permissions to the dashboards in the company module. Now this user is not able to view a dashboard and he receives a user not authorized error. What am I missing? This is probably due to the permissions on the financial reports. So what you'll want to do is go into the company module and give permissions to list and view financial reports, and that should give them the ability to view the dashboard that has financial reports contained on it. Okay. Our company needs the ability to limit AP credits to the entity owner in a multi-company environment. Is this possible in Sagemtech? Yes, this is a configuration setting. If you go to company and admin, subscriptions, multi-entity console, you can go to configure from there, slide down to the inter-entity transaction section, and you can make your change there. Another question. Okay. Can I add another application to the Intact add-in in Microsoft Word? That's a good question. Unfortunately, no other applications can be added to the Intact add-in for Microsoft Word at this time. They may change this at a later date, but currently we don't have that functionality. We have a need to be able to and collaborate notes to sales orders. Is this possible? At this time, you cannot add or report on collaborate notes in any of the other applications, unfortunately. We have time for a few more. When will functionality for electronic filing of 1099s directly through Intact be available? I know it's been on the roadmap. Yes, this functionality will be available beginning with the taxable year 2022. That is for January 2023. It will be available. And we got time for a couple more. All right. I'm trying to import vendors as one-time vendors, but it doesn't seem like this is available in the import template. You're absolutely right. Currently, this field cannot be populated by import. There is a workaround, though. You can add a custom field to the vendor record for a one-time vendor, add it to the import template, and populate it. Then you can create a smart event that will move this value to the one-time field when the vendor is created. So there's a workaround for it for the one-time vendors. All right, I think we have time for one last question. We inadvertently posted an AR advance to the year 2072 and have already applied it against an invoice. We need to remove this from the bank reconciliation report. How should we proceed? Well, you know, AR advances are able to be reversed. It has been applied to an invoice. So first you would unapply the payment application, then you would reverse the advance. I think that's all the time we have for questions.